Hello everyone, today I'm here to review for you Pyramido from Synapsis Games, and this was provided to me by Coiled Spring Games for the review. This is a tile placement game, and know this going in, tile placement is one of my favourite mechanics, where you are placing these domino-like tiles first as the base of a pyramid, then up a bit, and then the top over the 4 rounds of the game. You're going to be scoring throughout though. Each round you're going to be scoring points for the different coloured sections and hopefully beating your opponents in score. Let's go through roughly how the game plays and then I'll give you my thoughts and feelings on it. So in Pyramido there are going to be 4 stacks of tiles, and then just in front of them, in between each of those stacks effectively, are 3 tiles. That's going to be the available market. And whenever you take one of those tiles, the sort of 2 stacks behind, you've got to refill the market from one of those 2. That just means that you can kind of see what could be coming up and what your opponents might be getting their hands on if you were to take certain tiles. Now, as soon as you've taken a tile, you're going to be adding it to your pyramid. At the start of the game, you can place it anywhere, but then you've got to place it next to one of your previously placed tiles, and sort of you're trying to build out, in the first round, a sort of 4x5 grid. It could be 5x4 or 4x5, it doesn't matter, but once you've done that, that sort of round will be over. You're trying to connect coloured areas, and that's because as soon as you put a tile down, if either of the colours on the tile haven't yet been played onto your pyramid, you're going to mark it with a special nice little wooden token of that colour. That means that's the area of that colour that's going to be scoring. So you don't want to have a red bit over here on your pyramid that's going to be scoring, and then all of your, well, the rest of your red sort of area, the other side not connected, because that's not going to get you any points. You're going to be scoring 1 point for each of the special coloured symbol in that area. So for example, in the yellow section, you're looking for the Ankh token symbols, which not only is the symbol on the tiles, it's also the shape of the wooden meeple-y token thing that you're putting onto it. So you'll go through each colour and score points for those different areas, and then whichever has scored you least, you'll get that number of points again as a bit of a bonus. You're going to repeat that 3 more times. However, you're not just doing that 4x5 grid. No, you're going up and shrinking in a little bit, and you're going to be then doing the next layer. The twist is the previous layers, the symbols from that sort of outer ring, add up into your points as well. So as one round goes and you've got red all in this corner scoring your points, well, maybe in the next round you're going to try and get a red over in that area as well to hopefully rescore some of those symbols that you can still see once you've finished the 2nd layer, 3rd layer and then 4th layer. And it's quite interesting the way in the last round you're actually only placing 1 tile right on top, and hopefully going to be scoring a load of points as a result of that. You might think, oh, well that's quite limiting, but you do have 3 special tiles that you can use on your turn when you're placing a tile. These are double-sided, they've got 1 colour on each side, so it covers the 6 different colours. And that allows you to go, oh, it's supposed to be a light blue, but I'm going to plot this down, it's the browny sort of area now. And that just allows you to hopefully link up some areas for your scoring. And you can use 1 of those per round, although just note, if for whatever reason you can't finish your grid, so let's say you're trying to do that 4x5 on the first layer, and you've put the tiles down in a funny way that you can't actually complete it, well, you're going to have to use those special single square tiles to fill in the gaps. You can't do that, you're actually going to lose the game. So it's very important to get your grid going correctly. So over the course of the 4 rounds, you're going to be picking up points and you're going to add those together, and whoever has the most points wins. So let's start with the production quality. I'm going to put my hands up. When I first opened the box and realised that you've got these lovely thick domino tiles and then these sort of quite paper thin, but not really paper, they're sort of laminated-y sort of feel square tiles that you're going to add on top, I was a bit like, oh, they feel a bit, why are they not the normal thickness of the tiles? Well, That's because you're adding it on top of the tiles as you're building out. And that would really sort of throw the pyramid stability off if they were a full thickness. So I was gonna, and when I opened the box I was like, why have they done this? That production quality doesn't match the other tiles. It's because they can't. They need to be thin, but they're also, like I say, they're slightly laminated, so they're really cool. You've got the really nice wooden point marker things that you're marking the zones for you that are scoring. That looks really nice, and it becomes quite like a bright sort of pyramid that's growing in front of you. It's maybe not the sort of sandy pyramid from the front of the box. It's definitely got colourful to it, as you've got light blues, you've got greens, you've got reds, etc. Though there is sort of the browny colour in there as well. But it's a very vibrant sort of pyramid that grows. It's not the most eye-catching, but the fact it grows off the table does add a little bit of sort of eye interest, sort of eye candy as you're playing the game. There's two sort of twists that make this game really work quite well. First of all is the way that the market refreshes, because it allows you to see the tiles that could be coming out and the tiles that you're going to, if you take that, you've got to put one of those two down into the market, and your next opponent, the person next round the table, will have the opportunity to pick that up. And I think that's why I actually really like this at 2. You kind of lose that when you get 3 and 4 players, as it's a bit more of a free-for-all in the market. You're only kind of maybe thinking what the next player around the table might or might not want. But when you're at 2, you really can be looking and go, right, they really want a light blue one because that's going to allow them to score some extra points or maybe link a couple of areas up. That's in that pile, so I'm going to take from that market, but I'm going to replace from the other pile, and they're not going to have a chance to get it, at least not quite yet. So you kind of get that extra thing at 2 players when you've played once. Some people might do it in the very first game, where you go, okay, I'm going to start watching what you're putting down. And I like that extra bit of sort of cutthroatiness, that sort of where you're trying to watch what the opponent needs, and you can sort of manipulate that market in terms of, I don't really care at the moment, but I want to make sure they're not going to get this colour. Let's replace from that pile instead then. And you don't really get that at 4 as much because, there's more things around the table, more of that market gets changed. It also means you can't necessarily have a look at the market until it's come nearly to your turn before you start going, oh, I wouldn't mind one of those two. Because otherwise, in a 4-player game, all 3 that are down on the market at the moment might have gone before your next turn. The other little bit is that extra bonus scoring each round. The fact that you score again whichever of your scorings was lowest. So, let's say I've got these 2 yellows scoring over here. Well, okay, that's the lowest amount of any colour that I'm getting, so I get an extra 2 points. But maybe if you'd somehow managed to not put that yellow scoring token down, maybe your next lowest was 5 or something like that. And you can therefore get some really big points in that bonus sort of extra bit. There's been some great moves that I've seen, like be it a player taking their last tile and making sure that they're only scoring 1 colour, so they're getting that big score twice. Or they put on that final turn, they put 1 down, add one of those cover tiles onto half of it, so they get to put 2 scoring markers down, scoring a load of points for both, and then one of them's just slightly over, getting another load of those bonus points. It's something that's just like, at the start of the game, you're like, oh, I get an extra point, an extra couple of points. By the end of the game, you can be scoring big zones of like 10 points. 10 points is good, but if I can get that again as bonus points, I might be laughing all the way to the win. One thing that I do wish the game had was just something a little extra. I like I said, those last 2 things that I've commented on, just take the game to a really fun, enjoyable one that I can definitely recommend you giving a play. But I wish there was just something like a special token that you could use once a game that would allow you to take 2 tiles and maybe skip your next turn or something like that. Just something like that, because sometimes you can see there's a tile in the market, and just once per game being able to go, alright, I'm going to take this tile and then I'm going to refill and take that tile. That would just feel like you have that one extra big turn. You could maybe make it, if you don't use that token, you get bonus points at the end of the game. But if you've used it, hopefully you've used it to score big. I just feel there's that one little touch missing that would just be like, wow, I've had this huge super turn. And something just to make it one turn stand out, and hopefully you've had a big turn where you're able to make a bigger area of red or green or something, or link 2 bits of blue up to score you nicely. It would have just been something a little bit extra that you could have done. Maybe as part of those cover tokens, you discard one and you're able to do it. Just something like that to give you sort of the sense of a bigger turn. Very infrequently, but just maybe once in the game. That would have been cool. Just something just to make it sort of have that extra bit of excitement on 1 or 2 turns in the game. I think that could have been cool. So overall, it's a really solid tile placement game. It's definitely a solid one I can recommend you going and playing, because you are on your turn doing something very simple of taking a tile, adding it to your pyramid, but then on the next round, you've stepped it up, but stepped it in a little bit, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. So in that last turn, you're placing that one tile, and you really are hoping that the market is giving you a colour you need, or that you've held on to one of those cover tiles that you've got, those 3 that you start the game with, and you've got the right colour to plop that down, plop a scoring marker down, and score some big points. Because that does feel really quite satisfying when you manage to do that. Some people won't like the very colourful pyramid. I think it just makes it quite bright and fun. But yeah, I can see why some people would sort of say, hey, it's not very pyramidy. It's quite sort of bright. But I still think it's a solid game, and that is Pyramido. Hopefully you found this review useful to give you sort of some pros and some cons of why this game may or may not be for you. Let me know if you've played it in the comments section below and what you thought of it. And until next time, have a tile placement-y good day.